Hey guys, MyDerp in a Box here, bringing you some Predator Ultramarines gameplay. Number 5 overall on the server. Taking a look at my stats, 76% win rate, almost a 2.0 damage ratio, which is great for a heavy tank. Comparing it to some of the others at its tier, a little bit less DPM than the Tiger, which got the recent buff, but way better than the T29 and the IS. And it is a 3-shell autoloader, so that's definitely helpful to have that burst damage. First game here on Hemmelsdorf. I'm going to head down heavy alleys, so I'm going to bring you a few gameplays here just so you can see how it works on the different maps. One thing about this tank is it's tall, and it does not have great gun depression, so when things face hug you, you actually can't shoot them if they're short enough. Luckily, not a lot of folks know that, so you don't get that a lot, but you do occasionally have savvy guys in light tanks, in the little French lights or some of the other shorter tanks that are right next to you and you can't shoot them back. So I'm headed down heavy alley here. I like to pull up in this area where D is, especially if my team is supporting. You can see from the minimap it's sort of half and half, but you can catch a lot of people out of position, just like this guy was trying to do. I got there a little bit earlier, he might have been fully out in the open. First thing you'll notice about this gun is, well, the high ammo capacity. It's about 2,500 DPM, anywhere from 150 to 180 at a time, so your clip can do around 540 if you pen all of them with AP. Pen isn't the greatest thing ever, so you are going to need a lot of APCR, and that's why I've got 30 here. And then I always bring HE just for all the light tanks that are out running around in the light tank destroyers. So you can see it's me and one other guy right now. The rest of my team's kind of further back. We're already down a tank, and we're just trying to hold this position, so I'm spamming help, but my guys will at least pull up and be a threat. 1-on-3's not looking great, but I know I can get rid of this guy. Gotta go ahead and do that. And then get as many shots as I can. I took one more extra than I wanted to there. But at least we're only down one tank, and I can use my dead KV-3 as cover, and my team is actively engaged right now. So I'm just backing around, kind of checking behind me. You can see as he came around the corner, I pulled forward, gave him a slight angle just to try to get that bounce. With both of them shooting at me, it's tough to angle correctly for both, but at least I don't have the threat behind me at this point. And my team is shooting down the alley, so that's great. You can see I get another bounce there. And then I just come around the corner and I got a ghost shell, which is unfortunate, but just trying to make sure all the shots count and that you aim it as best you can. Here comes the KV-3 again, couldn't bounce that one, so luckily these guys are running into each other and my team is showing up. At this point I switched to APCR to make sure I can pen, and even though I don't get great rolls on either of those, with the third shell I'm able to get the kill. And at this point we're just in cleanup mode, so there's two other tanks, so I'm going to kind of go forward and see what I can do here. A lot of dead bodies in the way, and my full health teammate that was hanging out in the back. Both of these are light tanks, and as I mentioned to you, if I let them get right up next to me, if they know well enough what to do, I actually couldn't shoot down. You can see the pen I mentioned that's not good bounced off the front plate of that MT-25, which is a Russian light with not great armor. The MT does back up its own, which is great. I'm just trying to get a kill shot here on the 12T. I missed one, and then the last one I low rolled a little bit. I actually got a decent roll at 187, but low rolled relative to the health that he had, so go ahead and clean it up and take a 7-4 victory. So you'll notice the ability for this tank just to put out damage. That was a 3,000 damage game. Didn't really feel like it. The 540 per clip, you don't have to land a whole lot of those to get to a really high damage number, which is really nice. And especially the quick intra-clip reload. With only a second and a half between shells, you can really hit people before they even know what's going on a lot of times. So given the lack of gun depression and how boxy and tall this tank is, this is a really unfavorable map for it, but it's still manageable. The one thing you don't really want to do here is really go out in the dunes, because you're going to be at odd angles as you're trying to cover the dunes, as you're trying to crest, and as you're trying to get into position. So it's better to go town. Always got to look at the lineups, but in this case our lineup is actually a little bit more favorable for town anyways. With the 3 TDs on red, if we go dunes, they're probably just going to sit in their spawn, and then we'll be spotted and getting shot where we can't see. Some interesting teams in this tank throughout, and you can see this is one of them where you got some guys going town, and we actually have 2 people that decide they want to head out to the desert by themselves, and they find the entire red team And so at this point, I'm going to try to get some shots in as quick as I can. We're already down a tank, 37 seconds in. Just moving around, seeing if anybody pops on hilltops, seeing what kind of shots I might have, which is really nothing to this point, which is a little bit scary given the fact that we're down a tank. And if we're on a supremacy game, we could have go ahead and had 2 bases. I don't really want to cap in this on this map that I'm encountering. In fact, I'm way too tall to try to cap this because I can get shot in the top of the turret. So when these guys pop up, I'm going to do what I can while I'm covered. So the top of my turret is sticking out over these rocks, and that's why I'm moving back and forth a little bit. It is a fairly well armored tank, so as long as I don't give people flush shots, it's going to be hard for them to pin. Especially as I'm wiggling slightly, because they're going to need to hit my hatch to do that. Just scanning the desert because I know they're all out there. I go ahead and decide to reload, and as soon as I reload, of course, the target pops up. So not great timing, but I wanted to get the 3 shots back in. And you can see just working the middle here, I do take a 405, which is a big number. But I'm able to land a couple shots on that Tiger as he's moving around. This gun, despite being an autoloader, has really good dispersion, which is pretty nice. It plays a little bit like a German tank, even though it's obviously a cartoon tank. I like this tank a lot better than the Vindicator, and in fact, only because you got both of them together is the only reason I had the Vindicator. As soon as I got into my 100 games, I sold it. I liked it that little. So I'm trying to help out my team here. I do have a heavy tank over there that lands a big shot, and then I put 3 in them. So you can see that tank, that J Panther actually went from full health to 0 in about 10 seconds between 1 shot from the IS, 3 from me, and then whoever put the kill shot on it. So a 3 tank advantage at this point, and as you've seen if you watch my other videos now, it's cleanup time. So you want to make sure that if you're going for damage or just practicing, that you go engage when you have an advantage like this. I'm assuming the game is won, but when you're up 3 tanks and several of you are full health, you should be in good shape. Bounced a couple shots, and there's the pen trolling again. Helsing's always a dangerous tank, although the armor does give the Helsing a little bit of trouble unless you're flush, and you can see there it bounced the 2nd shot. Now, if he would have switched to APCR, he probably would have pinned both, but since he didn't, I was able to do okay. And now I've got a couple easy targets, so as somebody takes out the Helsing, I know that SU, even though he disappeared, I know he's still sitting there. Just a spotting issue, so I will go ahead and put the 2nd shot, which is the kill shot. It's a pretty easy win, 2,000 damage game, nothing super special. But we did lose a couple tanks right away, and that is a map that's not really that favorable for the tank. So we're going to dive back in here. This was all a marathon session. It's not the highlights of all my games by any stretch, but it was one of the times that I was able to record. And it likes to, I guess, challenge me because it put me on Vineyards next, which is another map that isn't great because of the hills, because of my lack of gun depression, and the fact that I think Town really is not a good option on Vineyards, normally because you get outspotted and you get shot from cover and from hilltops where you can't see. Despite that, we have 4 heavies. A couple of them decide to go this way anyways, and a lot of times in games like this, arguing with them isn't going to do any good. You're just going to split the team and or confuse them, and so I just decided to follow along. I do ask one of the guys to grab A, because that is a key on supremacy that we get A. Not a whole lot of action here. I know where the guy is on B. You know where they have to sit. I didn't have shots from where I was before. So I'm just pulling up here, setting up a side scrape on this building a little bit. The bush should help keep me from getting spotted, but you can see I'm just angling slightly in case there's someone on B. They're going to be shooting a 45-degree angle on the side of my tank as opposed to shooting square on the front. Patience is key in these big, slow tanks. You're not a spotter. You're not going to do any good if you go out and try to spot people. And as the enemy pops up here, I'm popping out looking for shots. So we got a Black Prince. You can see you can get some good rolls here. So 194, 190, and 202. So that one clip, nearly 600 damage. Red is just kind of sitting in the open, so we do go up a tank, which is great. back to even as one of our guys decided to rush out there. And so just working this back points while I have cover and while I have good dispersion, it's going to be hard for me to penetrate if he was wanting to brawl me or if that was the only thing he was focused on. Notice here I'm on the building and I'm actually taking shots. I've got these little rocket launcher looking things on the side of my tank that are decorative, or I thought they were decorative, and apparently I can take damage through them, so that's not great. I got the full attention of this Nashorn down here. He's decided that he wants to try to shoot me, and again I take a pen on the little rocket launcher on the side. So at this point I back up, I figured out what was going on. And we are about to be down 2 bases. I don't really want to mess around and worry about it, so I go ahead and pop out here thinking that I'm not going to take too much damage, and I actually get a couple more bounces. So the armor of this tank is really good if you just keep it a little bit angled and don't give them a 90-degree target to shoot at. This ARS decided to ignore me altogether, so I'm able to get the kill there. And then as I'm going for this Nashorn, you see me load up my HE for my one last shell, but who actually gets annihilated by the KV-2 as these German light tank destroyers often do. So LTTB has just been running in circles from this Panther, waiting for us to finish up. So as we are heading towards him on this slow march, he decides to let the Panther know that his time is short. So here I'd love to just get a couple more shots in. You can see the HP kind of draining in the head out, which is always unfortunate at the end of the game when you'd like to get an extra 300 or 500, but I'll take the win. So again, Town, even though it's not my favorite, just because it suits the tank and the team better, 2300 damage again. So my average in this tank was about 1800. You can definitely get yourself into some situations that are challenging, and especially when you're bottom tier against some of the Russian heavies and the other things that are difficult to pin. Depending on how tall they are, and if you're able to get a flush shot on them with APCR, there's times that you can pen 1 or 0 of the shots in your clip and they turn around and shoot you for 400, and especially if there's a group of them, take a couple shots like that and you're half dead. And so positioning with this tank is really important. You can see here as the only heavy, I really don't like to go mill anyways. I'm not going to be the spotter for the group unless I'm in a light tank or something that I can do it and get away safely and also do damage. So we just abandon mill altogether and go A. The other team's pretty light as well, so there's a decent shot somebody will show up from them. I think our tanks hopping on the base early, even if they were headed this way, scared them off a little. And so they're actually headed up to B right now. So I am bottom tier in this game, and it's still a playable tank by far. I'm sorry, a much more playable tank than some of the other ones. And you can see just shooting right between that building, I'm not worried about the pen, and you can see that burst damage right there. He wasn't even able to back around there. It's a really agile light tank, and he was not even able to back around the corner before I was able to get 3 shots into him. Again, there's the burst damage. I put 2 in him. So we're up 2 tanks. My team is doing pretty well. You can see them rotating a little bit, so they're really kind of getting out of position, and so I'm just going to keep doing what I can here. Side of an FCM, and I'm using a dead tank for cover, so what he has to shoot back at me is a good chance he hits the dead tank, and if he doesn't, he's shooting at my turret, which is pretty well armored, as well as you keep a slight angle, and there's really not a lot they can do. Again, in Supremacy, I might as well grab the base while I'm here, especially because you never know what's going to happen with these other heavy tanks. I'm getting really fortunate with the way the HP of the enemy tanks has worked out that I'm able to clip them. Just trying to get, wanted to try to get rid of that FCM, but I'm not able to, so I'm sorry, it might not be an FCM at this point, it might be one of the other heavies. So I pull back around here and put 3 in the Chi-Ri. Chi's also a really dangerous autoloader just because of how fast it unloads its clips. But we're about even on that, and you can see with a slight angle that I'm able to bounce a few of his shots. and drop 467 on him after I already hit him for about 500 the first time. Our T-43 that has been in the buildings with me, this is pretty excited about getting kills, so I let him chase him down for the last 100. And then really the only thing left to do here is this T-34, which would pen me like butter if he shoots back at me, but he's on the reload currently. So I dropped 433 on him, and right there you see me back up the ramp. I just give him an angled surface to shoot at on the front. So if I sat still and just faced him, he's got enough pen to go through me. As I back up the hill, then it creates an angled surface and he's not able to do it. So Top Gun medal there, as well as another victory. And that was actually an ace, another 3K damage game just like the first one, but 1253 base XP, which is great for a tier 7. Spotting and shooting tanks that are higher tier will help get you there quicker. Alright, so last game of the video here on Mayan Ruins, which is a map I really enjoy in a lot of tanks. Don't mind it in the Predator, but it's not my favorite map. So Himmelsdorf that you saw in the first game is one of the better ones because it's all alleys and there are mounds that you can shoot over, so the tank's tall enough to actually be well down on a lot of things. With a slight wiggle, you're hard to hit back. So on this map, I don't want to go middle just because of the hill and the fact that I don't have the gun depression. So you can either go heavy alley here, or we could have gone all the way out to the right. Just looking at the lineup, we had an advantage if we go heavy alley because we've got 3 and they've got 1, even though they've got TDs, or TD, they've got 2 I guess, but I would rather take my chances over here with those TDs camping in the back than going out on the right side and getting swarmed by small tanks. Our mediums decide to go out on their own, and so at this point, I'm trying to get there and support them. You can see actually one of our heavies decides to keep flanking all the way around, so we're down a tank already from what was out here happening in the fight, and we're basically down another tank because he's so far away and isn't even involved. As you may have seen from some of my other videos, as we're approaching here, instead of me going out to the right and potentially getting shot in the side, I'm just trying to make sure everything's in front of me where possible. And you can see here, I'm actually backing up on a slight hill to be able to get the gun depression to shoot him because he's below me. So it doesn't even have enough gun depression to shoot a guy who's right in front of me and slightly below. Down a couple tanks now. That J Panther needs to go, and the defender does take care of him, which is great. I have another opportunity here to take care of the Panther, and with the clip damage, you can see 422. So again, I can't emphasize enough how nice the clip is to be able to do 540, 550 damage to something, especially mediums or light tanks. So despite that, we're down HP and now we're down a tank. A lot of really high health tanks on red, even though we're back to even now. The T-49 is something that would give me problems because it's short and because of the traverse that it has to be able to get behind me and back for a big shot, and it is running a dope gun. So I'm just coming down in here and trying to take care of him. I'm trying to take some shots from that defender because I'm still at full health and I need him alive. Switch to HE for that T-49 so I can do better damage. And then do switch back to APC after that shot in my clip, just trying to help where I can. It's heavy. I'm really hoping that my defender can do something. Right there, T-20 was a great move on his part, and ram kills are out. So we're able to get the defender feeling good about it now, 2-on-1, and one of mine is an upper tier heavy. But this T-20 is pretty savvy, and he actually keeps moving. He's able to get around behind the defender. I got a shot there that I think hit his gun down. And you can see now he's down to a 1 shot. My defender's reloading. So the T-20 takes another shot at me here. And as the defender's just keeping his gun on him here, just waiting to reload. He actually does get a kill, which surprises me. It's a good shot on his part, moving around obstacles as well as my teammate moving around him. But at the end of the day, 7-6 wins, so probably one of the better games that you saw in terms of competitiveness. First class, 2600 damage, so all these games were back to back to back. Hope you enjoyed it.